online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound, the Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome along to the Wycombe Wanderers Show. It's an historic evening because it's the evening after the first evening that fans were allowed back in Adams Park. A crowd of 1,000 were at the game last night, and Bob was there as well.
What an evening it was. It was a truly emotional and just remarkable experience. I wasn't quite sure how much of an atmosphere 1,000 fans would make, but they really did make such a difference yesterday. And hats off to them for making as much noise as they could, and also hats off to the club as well for arranging it all and making sure that it ran totally smoothly.
Logistically, it must have been so tricky to kind of coordinate and get the fans in that were eligible and get in touch with fans if you didn't, weren't able to take up your allocation that you were entitled to.
Yeah, and I thought they were fantastic in the fact that they were still contacting fans yesterday late afternoon, trying to make sure that actually 1,000 fans did get in.
Gareth Ainsworth acknowledging the supporters as well. More on that. We'll hear from the manager after that game, and also after Saturday's draw with Derby, which was quite a good achievement as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We went up to Pride Park and managed to get a point against Wayne Rooney's Derby, as they're now known, in the same way that John Craven always used to be John Craven's News Round. It always has to be Wayne Rooney's Derby. But I thought we did very well, actually, because they're, as Gareth says, they're not as bad as the table suggests, and they did put up a very good fight, but Wycombe were equal to them and definitely deserved a point.
And also a goal from Matt Bloomfield. Well, it was sort of a bit controversial as to whether it was his goal.
It was his goal, definitely. And
we'll hear from Mr. Wycombe this evening as well. Also coming up, we'll hear from former Wycombe Wanderers striker Keith Samuels, who in the 60s, 63 to 70 to be precise, played nearly 250 appearances, scoring 115 goals for the club.
And we are going to hear from Ian Wills, from Wills and the Willing. They are the band that Gareth has joined to record a Christmas single called Drawing Straws. Colin spoke to him, so we will be hearing a little bit of the song and the interview as well about how that collaboration came about.
Petr Cech's on drums as well.
That's very impressive, isn't it? It's the footballing all-stars.
Yeah, fantastic. So lots to cover for you this evening. Between 7 and 8 of a Thursday, it's the Wycombe Wanderers Show. But only one place to start, and we must say a very big hello to you if you were one of the 1,000 that was at Adams Park last night. Hopefully you can hear yourself there. And just tell us how it felt to be back at Adams Park with supporters.
It just felt great. And just... It felt so unusual, because I think actually those of us who have been lucky enough to go to the games over the past several months, you do get quite accustomed to going along in the same way that if you're a supporter who regularly used to go to reserve matches that Wycombe played, the atmosphere was very much like that actually at games before the supporters were allowed back, where you could hear everything that happened. You could hear the players, you could hear the referee. And last night, even though there were only 1,000, it was just like having all of the fans back. Albeit, they weren't obviously all sitting next to each other, but the amount of noise that was generated was fantastic. It's slightly odd that obviously actually the most noise was then coming from the town end rather than the Valley Terrace. Normally, of course, all of the noise for Wycombe would be coming from the Valley Terrace, but actually it was swapped around last night. And I do wonder whether actually Gareth is going to start taking that into account when they decide which end they want to be attacking in the second half. Because I think attacking the empty terrace in the second half as we did last night, possibly, that might not last. We might change that. I know it's tradition, but I think we might change that for a little while until fans are actually allowed back on the terrace.
And so much media interest in the game as well, which must have made it a little more special as well.
It was quite amazing beforehand that actually for a little while it did seem like there were more people trying to get interviews with fans than there were fans coming into the stadium. There were so many people there. We had Sky, there was TalkSport, we had the BBC were there last night. There were lots and lots of media organisations, all with cameras and with microphones, all wanting to get the word of the fans about how it felt. To a person, they all just said, it's just fantastic. People have missed it so much, just that experience of going to a football match. So much so that actually when Stoke City came out, they came out slightly before the Chairboys, and obviously things are very different these days, so they don't all come out together, and they come out from different areas of the ground. Even the Wycombe fans gave gave Stoke City a small round of applause. You know, and only in the way that maybe sort of like if you were at a county championship match and somebody hit a 4 that you might give a small round of applause. But it was still noticeable that actually the opposition got a small round of applause as they came out, which I've never ever heard at a football match before. Definitely wouldn't have been the case at the end, particularly considering that actually, you know, they decided that it would be a good idea to celebrate their goal right in front of the town end, and you know, the player who scored it cupping his ear to the Wycombe fans. That definitely didn't do anything to cement the friendship between ourselves and our Staffordshire neighbours. But no, definitely, you know, it was lovely. All of that was just nice. Gareth walking around the pitch at the just before kick-off, that again was such an emotional moment. Really, really nice, because clearly the fans haven't seen him since the team got promoted, and he went out to applaud them, and they, to a man, stood up and applauded him back.
Let's get Gareth's thoughts after the game, speaking to Bob.
Again, one of those nights tonight where you feel, well, you know, a couple of decisions, if they'd gone our way, then we would have got a point.
You know, I obviously don't want to go on about that, but I thought the endeavour and the desire and the attitude and the commitment of the boys probably deserved something tonight, and we just didn't get that decision at the end there. The handball, I think we've probed and we've passed and we've crossed and we've shot, and it just was that little bit of quality that was missing right at the end. We've got it. I mean, McCleary and Horgan, 2 players I brought in who raised the level of what we are. You know, Fred, again, one of his best games so far in the Championship. David Wheeler flying, Kashka Akinfenwa, you know, that front 6, Samuel, I thought they were outstanding. I know the defenders have done well, and the way we played tonight, I thought we got some identity back of playing without Akinfenwa and then playing with Akinfenwa. We're going to cause teams problems, you know. There's going to be some games where we're going to be out of it. There's going to be some fantastic teams in this league, and we're going to get beat, like we did at Blackburn. But the more games we can have like tonight, I think we increase our chances of being a Championship side next season, and that's all I want.
And I think, to be fair to you, you know, we've played a decent number of games now. We've played Norwich, we've played Watford, and we've competed in all of those games. There's only been one Blackburn so far.
There has, yeah. It's incredible. It's my hometown and the team I support, but it's coming, you know. There's going to be a run of games coming. I'm sure that we're going to pick a lot of points up. Just so proud of the boys, proud of the efforts. Just said to him tonight was probably the difference was James McLean has picked out somebody with a pearl of a cross at the back stick, unmarked. We just didn't do that tonight. We put some balls in that got cleared easy, or we just didn't reach, or the goalkeeper plucked it out of the sky. We're going to get there. We're going to work hard on that, because I'm really pleased with the way we played. The identity's back, like I say, and looking forward to Preston on Saturday now.
There was a lovely moment where you came out before the game, and all of the fans basically got on their feet and gave you a round of applause.
I can't thank them enough, you know, that this club means so much to me, you know, from when I signed back in 2009 on loan and then 10 permanent, and just you know, it's just part of me. It's the longest I've spent at any club ever in my career, and I'll never ever thank the fans enough for what they've done for me, supported me in some real dark days, and I'm glad that the faith they've shown has been repaid with this moment of at least 1,000 of them getting in and watching Championship football. It's just crazy to say that Wycombe Wanderers are in the Championship and competing as well. Not points, definite points when you come to Wycombe, or when you play Wycombe, it's definite points. If you're going to beat us, you're going to have to work really hard, and a couple of the Stoke players told me after the game, you keep playing like that, you'll be absolutely fine. Really pleased.
And Preston on Saturday, another club that means a lot to you.
Yeah, of course. My debut back in 1991, I think, long time ago. I'm sure Preston fans and Preston players will know what to expect, because that's what I did when I played. But again, I watched them last night at Bournemouth. They're a very good outfit. Alex Neil's a very good manager, and we're going to have to be at our best, as we are in every game this season. But there's over 90 points still to play for in this league. We don't even need half of them to stay up, and I'm sure we've got enough in the tank to survive and play Championship football next season too.
It's easy to forget, isn't it, that Gareth played against Wycombe for Preston at Wembley
in the playoff final. Yeah.
As a youngster.
Yes, I know, that is surprising. I thought he was doing himself down a lot last night, where he was then saying that bit about, you know, well, yes, there are going to be games where, you know, where we're going to have what happened at Blackburn happen again. And I think, well, you know, hang on, we are now at least half the way through half of the games, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
And there's only been one Blackburn so far, and we have played. We played Reading when they were top of the table. We played Watford. We played Norwich. We have played some of the big teams, and we've done okay. So I completely appreciate what he's trying to say and why he was saying it, but at the same time, it's not as if I know that we went on the 7-game losing run, but in each of those games, apart from maybe Blackburn and possibly I'd say the Swansea game as well, we competed in all of the other ones, and that's not bad going considering the teams that are in this division. Stoke last night had something like 500 worth of Premiership experience on the bench, whereas we had to recall two of our sort of like B-team loanees, if you like, just to make sure that actually we could have the 9 players that you're now allowed on the bench. So that that's the difference. That's what we're up against, and we're competing.
And really nice as well for Gareth to be told that from opposing players that they should be okay if they keep to that level. Yeah, I mean,
it's always an easy thing, I think, probably to say when you've won, but it is good to hear. And definitely, yes, Michael O'Neill as well, the Stoke manager, was also, very, very complimentary about Wycombe as well.
And it must have meant so much to the players last night to be back in front of supporters as well.
Yeah, you could completely see it. They were absolutely again. Everyone just smiled last night. Until about sort of like half time. Just the novelty of being there, it just meant that everybody had a big grin on their face. Once the second half got going, maybe, and particularly once some of the refereeing decisions kept going against us, it started to feel a bit more familiar. But yeah, it was just fantastic. The players, a lot of them then tweeted yesterday after the game just about what it meant. Bayo saying, such an amazing feeling to have some of our fans back at Adams Park tonight. Shame that we couldn't get the result that we were hoping for, but we go again. Together we got this, he says. Anthony Stewart saying, great to have our fans back in. Thank you for your patience. Hopefully we will reward you with a win soon, because we don't accept losing, and we will be back fighting on Saturday for sure. Scott Cashket saying, gutted with the result tonight, but so happy to have the fans back in the stadium. Seeing and hearing them for the first time in months makes you realise how much they've been missed. And JJ saying, what a feeling having some fans back tonight. Gutted we didn't get the result that we wanted, but 1,000 of you made a huge difference. We can't wait to have Adams Park full and rocking again, and looking forward to seeing 2,000 of you soon. So just, you can just hear, I think, in those tweets what it meant to the players.
Really nice to hear as well. And there are also plans, I know, from a task force, whoever they are, to say that there are discussions underway to allow more and more supporters in as well. I know that obviously you can have up to 2,000 in Tier 2, and then that's looking to be built up over the weeks as well.
Yes, yeah, and then 4,000 I think in Tier 1. So yes, it's definitely all going in the right direction. Pete Kuhig also tweeted last night saying, I thought I knew how much I missed you all. I underestimated it. It was so good to have you back in your home. Very emotional at points in the night. Can't wait to get more in at Adams Park when we go again versus Coventry. Thank you for doing it exactly as we all knew that you would. Again, emotion, I think, was the main theme of the evening. A couple of tweets from journalists who were present. So Phil McNulty, who is the chief sports writer over at the BBC, saying, great night at Adams Park, superbly organised by the club with 1,000 supporters. Even the referee didn't seem to mind having the fans jeering at him. Very special to have an atmosphere created by passionate support once more. And Jake Humphrey from BT Sport also saying, Wycombe tonight made me slightly emotional, which I thought was rather nice.
Definitely, and it must be so nice for everyone connected with behind the scenes at the club as well, to sort of show off the ground, if you like. Come and see our new digital boards and the new floodlights, and it's turning into a championship ground.
Yes, and I think also nice of them to still realise actually what it means to us, and to be treating us as, the big story last night. I know that the story was, well, fans were allowed into 6 other grounds, but actually the main attention seemed to be on us last night, because actually it was the first time that fans had seen us in the championship. So we appreciated the exposure, I think, that we got last night, and I think we completely rose up to what was expected of us. It really couldn't have gone any better.
Still to come on the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we'll hear from the man behind a charity single, which Gareth Ainsworth has lent his vocals to. We'll get some post-match reaction from the Derby game on Saturday as well, and we'll be talking to Keith Samuels next.
This is Wycombe Sound.
Second part of the Wycombe Wanderers show still to come. We'll be hearing, as I say, from Wycombe manager Gareth Ainsworth once again, and Mr. Wycombe himself, Matt Bloomfield, as well.
I'd like to say a big hello to Wycombe Wanderers ladies, who we think are on their way to training, as they are every Thursday night. And congratulations to them as well, because they returned to action for the first time last night since the second lockdown. They met Penn ladies in a friendly, and they only went and won 9-0. Lindsay Pinker scoring a hat-trick, so congratulations to the Chair girls.
Yeah, there's season resumes next Saturday. I think it's Sunday. It's the 14th.
Yes, that would be about right.
Away at Abingdon, I believe. Meanwhile, though, cast our minds back. Well, I say our minds. I wasn't born for this. But
I was going to say, I think I'm the same.
If you're older, cast your mind back to the early 60s, sometime after the Amateur Cup final appearance in 1957 against Bishop Auckland, wasn't it? A few years down the line, and Keith Samuels arrives at the club. Little did he know that nearly 250 appearances later and 115 goals later, he'd be representing the club up front, and been catching up with him to find out a bit about how he became a Wanderer.
It's quite a long story, actually, because I used to live in a place called Wallington near Croydon in Surrey, and I only used to play local football with my mates and that. And I used to work in a printing company, and a guy came and onto the management there, and he walked with a limp. So obviously I got talking to him and that, and we talked about football and that, and he used to play for Liverpool in the reserve side, and the manager then was Don Welsh. They won the Central League, I think, I've got the story right, and he, obviously in those days, you went out and celebrated, and he was in a car crash, and he lost the bottom part of his leg at the age of 21. He said to me, "Oh, well, I understand you play football, you know," and I said, "Yeah." So he said, "Oh, I'll come and watch you one Saturday then." So he came over and watched me one Saturday, and he said to me, "Oh, I think you could play in better football than you're playing in now." I said, "Well, no, I enjoy playing with my mates, go to the pub afterwards, have a couple of pints, you know." And he said, "Don Welsh is manager of Wycombe Wanderers now." He said, "I'll try and arrange for you to have a trial in the reserve side when they play over near Croydon." So to cut a long story short, he arranged for me to play for the reserves at Bromley. I had quite a good game, scored a couple of goals. There was a couple of committee men there. They said to me, "Well, what do I work?" I said, "Well, I work in the print. I'm working at a printing company." So he said, "Oh, there's a big printing company in Wycombe called Harrison's." So I said, "Oh." So they said, "How would you mind moving down?" I said, "Well, my wife's expecting a baby at the moment," I said. So they said, "Well, why don't you come down and have a look and see what..." So I didn't drive in those days, so got on a train from Croydon, came down to Wycombe. Don Welsh met me at the station, took me up to Lokes Park. We had a look round, and to cut a long story short, I managed to get another job through the trade union that I was in, and I ended up a Wycombe Wanderers player. So if it hadn't have been for the guy coming to start at the company where I used to work, I would never have come to Wycombe Wanderers.
So it's a great story, isn't it? And like you say, such a fortuitous sort of set of circumstances.
I mean, it's just one of those things that I never dreamt of. I never dreamt of playing, in sort of top amateur football, because obviously in those days, as I said, I think I was 20, 21 then, and I just came down and everybody made me welcome, and I think I played my first game with Don Welsh as manager when I think I played at Walthamstow Avenue. Lem Worley couldn't play, he was injured, so I think I played on the right wing against Walthamstow Avenue, and I think that was my first game. And then after that, I played in the reserves for a while, and then managed to get into the first team, and luckily kept my place there for a few years. So had some great times, great memories, played with some great players, Lem Worley, Paul Bates, John Maskell in goal, Peter Sotheby, Tony Horseman, all great players, and I was lucky to be able to play with them, because I used to be sort of a workhorse that used to do a lot of work, and up and down. In those days, you was an inside forward. You did a lot of work, running, getting the ball, fetching, laying things on, and all that. So yes, as I say, I've got memories. I think the first goal I ever scored for Wycombe was against Corinthian Casuals. And the funny thing about it was, when I was playing in Croydon, I played a representative game for Croydon against Arnhem. And one of the guys, the goalkeeper, was the same guy that played for us for Croydon, was the same guy that played in goal for Corinthian Casuals when I scored my first goal against him. So, I knew him from those days, And, as I say, I've had some great times. Well, obviously, there's games that I remember. I mean, one of the ones that really sticks in my mind is when we played Bedford in the FA Cup. We played 4 times. We had 3 replays. We drew, I think, 1-1 at Lokes Park. Then we went to, I think it was called the Erie then, at Bedford. We drew 3-3 there. Then we came back and we played they tossed a coin to see who would play the next game at home or away. I think we won the toss, played at Lokes Park. It never stopped raining for about, I don't know how long. So we started the game. We got to full time and it was 1-1. And the referee says, right, extra time. So we had extra time, and he said to me, I'm going to blow the whistle to kick off, he said, and then just kick the ball out of touch. He said, I'm going to abandon the game. So there was about 8,500, 9,000 people in the ground then. Well, I've never known it so silent at Lokes Park. He whistled, I kicked the ball out, and nobody knew what was happening, because they sort of looked at me and said, what's he done that for? And then the referee just blew the whistle, abandoned the game, and off we went. And then we played, we went to Bedford again, and we lost 3-2 in the 4th game. But it's a bit different. The FA Cup was a bit different then to what it is today, where there's, extra time and penalties and just one game. And we had 4 that year. Another one that sticks out in my mind is when we played Barking. John Maskell got injured in the first 10 minutes, and he had to go to hospital and have 6 stitches in his eye, above his eye. And I went in goal after 10 minutes. We carried on with 10 men because we thought that John might come back and be able to go in goal, but he couldn't come back because he had concussion. So Martin Priestley came on, who was the first sub that Wycombe ever used. I think that was 1966. And we won 4-1. I let 1 goal in, but we managed to score 4. So that was another. So I played 80-odd minutes in goal for Wycombe, which was something that I never thought I'd ever have to do.
No, you played right wing and also hitting goal as well.
Yeah. I mean, I as I say, I was sort of always, when I played, I always wanted to give 100%. I was never one of these that sort of tried to hide during a game. Even if I was having a bad game, I still wanted to give 100%. But and hopefully I did. But as I say, going back a little bit on the story, the first time that I saw Lokes Park, and I saw the slope from about 14 foot from the top to the bottom, across the pitch, I couldn't believe how they played football on it. A lot of people used to say, well, you must find it all. Well, we never took any notice of it. We just went out there and played. Yet other teams, the problem was on a heavy day with the heavy ball we used to play with, if you were down the bottom side, trying to get a cross in from the bottom side was hard work because the ball was so heavy and going up the slope as well. But then the other way, coming down from the top, made it a lot easier. I went on a couple of tours with Wycombe. We went to Amsterdam, we went to Calella. Well, as I say, I thoroughly enjoyed my, 6.5, 7 years at Wycombe. In 1968, when, Barry Darvell took over from Don Welsh as manager, I think that was round about 65, something like that. He made me captain in 1968, I think it was. I was captain there until, obviously, Brian Lee came. I played a few games, I think half a season or something like that when Brian was there, and then obviously he started getting the better players in, like John Delaney and Keith Searle, and I sort of that was it. We didn't have he got rid of the reserve side, so there was no reserve side to play in. So I think he had a squad of about 18 players, and I never managed to get into those 18 after a little while with Brian. So so that ended my career at Wycombe. Overall, I really thoroughly enjoyed my time at Wycombe, and I was honoured to play for them. You know, I mean, great club, always, great committee there, managers. I mean, Don Welsh, he was only there about another year after I started there, and Barry Darvell took over. Barry was there for about four or five seasons, I think. And then Brian Lee came, and it was a different kettle of fish, because Barry, very easygoing, very one of the lads sort of thing, but Brian, he brought in a lot of discipline, and we used to go training over at Bisham Abbey twice a week, which was great, because we used to start pre-season training, and we all used to jump in the river instead of having a shower or whatever, go in the river for a swim afterwards. And Brian, I still see him now, and I still see there's 6 of us who play golf on a Thursday: Les Merrick, Colin Bunting, Martin Priestley, Keith Searle, Vince Faulkner, and myself, who all played together in the 1960s, towards beginning of the 1960s and at the end of the 1960s. So we still keep in touch. I still keep in touch with John Maskell, Barry Baker. So I'm still got a lot of connections with the players that I used to play with. Hopefully it will go on for a little bit longer. Getting a bit old in the tooth now, but there we are.
It's fantastic that you still keep in touch 50 years later.
Yeah, that's it. A lot of people can't believe that, because you find a lot of clubs that players just go off to their different areas, and that's it. And I mean, it's not as if we all live together in Wycombe. I mean, Keith Searle lives in Milton Keynes, Martin Priestley lives in Dunstable, Vince Faulkner lives in Buckingham, Les Merrick lives at Bledlow Ridge, Colin Bunting and myself, we both live at Hazelmere. He lives up off the other side of Hazelmere from where I live. But, it's great, and as I say, I still go to the games at home, go to away games. Went to Sunderland last year when we got hammered 4-0. Went up there for the weekend, 4 of us. Barry Baker, Vince Faulkner, my son drove, and myself. So we went up there and spent the weekend in Sunderland. I've been to Villa Park, Northampton, Oxford. We go to a lot of the away games. I mean, we had them all mapped out for this season where we were going to go. But obviously with COVID, that's all gone by the board now.
Of course, it must have been fantastic though to follow the club's progress, but also to where they are now, considering from when you played.
It's great that where they are, and also I'm glad that they've picked up, to where because the first 7 games we really struggled and lost them, but hopefully we can start picking up a few wins at home, and if we can still get the draws away from home, we should be all right and be able to stay in the league. But that remains to be seen. But I think that Gareth has brought in some good signings. And the thing about Wycombe is that they it doesn't matter who you talk to up there, the players of today, they just say that it's the best dressing room that they've ever been in at any club, and the camaraderie between the players. It's great, and we had that when I played. It always seems that Wycombe was a club where you went to, and there was never any sort of animosity between any of the players. We all got on. We all enjoyed our own, each other's company. We had a good social life up there. But yes, and so as I say, I'm on with the ex-players. We have 4 functions every year. We have a quiz night. We have a bowls day down at Wycombe Bowls Club. We have a golf day, which is at Winter Hill. And we have the annual dinner, which is normally in November up at the ground in the Caledonian Suite. So I still see a lot of the, players from, people like Jeff Anthony, who was a Welsh international. He played when I played. He lives in America. He always flies over from America, just come to the dinner to see all the players that he used to play with and that, So, it's a sort of club that I think once you're connected with it, you're there for the rest of your life.
Did it feel really special when you joined? Because I guess, it was the early 60s. It wasn't too long after the famous 57 final.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I mean, I only ever played, I think I played a game at Sutton and Dennis Syrup played in goal, who was the goalkeeper in those days. But all those old guys as well, the older guys, they always made you welcome. You were never sort of an outsider, although, I came from Croydon. They used to call me the up-the-roader, because I didn't come from round Wycombe. And that was another thing in those days. The majority of the team all lived in or around Wycombe, whereas now, obviously, it's because it's a pro game and that. They come from all corners of the country to come to Wycombe. I mean, I think I was the one that came from furthest away. I think John Beck and Barry Baker came from Slough. Len Worley came from Chalfont. Other than that, John Maskell and Ian Rundle came from Oxford. But other than that, most of us lived in Wycombe. And you knew all the supporters, you'd sort of go into Wycombe and they'd stop and have a chat with you and say, that was a good win on Saturday, or, what happened Saturday when you lost, or, But as I say, it's one of those things that once you've been connected with the club, you want to stay connected with the club. And I've missed, since COVID, obviously, we have ex-players committee meetings once a month to discuss different things and what we're going to do, and et cetera, and we haven't had a meeting since last February. So all we've done is sort of keep in touch with emails, and John Taylor sends out letters to people who haven't got the internet or an email address, but we all still keep in touch all the time.
And I bet you couldn't have imagined as well when you joined that you'd have made nearly 250 appearances for the club.
Well, that's it, yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe it. When I saw those stats, somebody said to me, you 250 nearly 250 games for the club and 115 goals. And I said, what? And they said, yeah. And I can hardly remember any of those goals. I can remember a couple. That's about all. Because I think I can remember one against Kingstonian. And I think I can remember a header from a corner against Bedford. And I think I can remember the first one that I scored against Corinthian Casuals, and that was it. But, I'm quite proud that I did that, because in the 60s when I played, we were struggling, we weren't sort of one of the top teams in the league in those. I think towards the end we ended up third or fourth in the league in about 1968, something like that. But other than that, we were sort of struggling, sort of nearer the bottom of the fourth or fifth from bottom in the league.
So what's happened to you after your time at the club? Obviously, it was 50 years ago, but what was it? Did you continue your football after that?
I played at Chesham. Barry Darble went to manage Chesham afterwards. So when I left Wycombe, I went to Chesham and played there for a couple of seasons. Can't say that it was the same as playing for Wycombe. Obviously, after I left Chesham, I packed up then for a little while, and then I went and played Colin Bunting, who was a goalkeeper at Wycombe in the early 60s, late 50s, early 60s. He played for Turners in the Hellenic League, so I went there and played a couple of seasons there, and then eventually I ended up playing at Molins in the Wycombe League with Colin and a load of other guys that I used to know. So, yeah, I did carry on a bit after Wycombe, but it I enjoyed it, but obviously when you're playing the sort of football I was playing in at Wycombe, you know, it's a different kettle of fish playing in the the Wycombe Senior League or whatever it was. But I still thoroughly enjoyed it. And then after I packed up football, I started doing a lot of running and used to do a lot of half marathons. Never got round to doing a full marathon. I applied for the London Marathon a few times, but never got in. Just generally tried to keep fit. Whereas, and now, even now, I go out every morning. I play golf twice a week when after, obviously with COVID, with the lockdown and that, we haven't been able to play, and go out for a walk for about 4.5 miles every morning that I don't play golf, and then go and see the lads play Tuesdays and Thursdays I play golf.
No, definitely. Well, it's been fantastic to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time and brilliant to share your stories. And I'm sure, supporters will be really pleased to hear them too.
Well, I hope so. I hope I haven't bored you too much, but...
No, not at all. Quite the opposite.
Well, thanks for inviting me to do it. Something I've never done before. So hopefully it'll give people, a few people an insight into what it was like to play for Wycombe and what it was like for me.
Really nice to hear from Keith Samuels, who made... almost 250 appearances and scored 115 goals between 63 and 70.
And we were quite interested as well about Don Welsh,
yes.
who managed Liverpool and Wycombe Wanderers. Although when you actually look back, he did manage Liverpool in a rather lean spell for the Merseyside club.
But great to have that association, isn't it?
Indeed, yes. And you do wonder one day whether Jurgen Klopp might come and end up at Adams Park.
Maybe.
I doubt it. You never know, though.
But we've proved it could be possible.
Pete Couhig's got big ambitions.
Absolutely.
So, one day when Gareth is off managing England, then maybe Jurgen will be the replacement.
I love the idea that people might be listening to the show in years to come and go, do you remember they mentioned about Jurgen Klopp? Well, it's actually happened now.
Yeah, you never know. And again, Gareth managing England and Dobbo is his number 2.
Absolutely, yeah. Got into fantasy football management now.
Still to come. Be a whole new show, couldn't it?
Absolutely. Still to come, final part of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. We'll hear from Ian Wills, who is the man behind a charity single which Gareth sings on. We'll play you a burst of that as well, and we'll get some post-match reaction from last Saturday when Wycombe Wanderers took on Wayne Rooney's Derby and came away from Pride Park with a point. Here at Wycombe Sound.
Love music, love talk, love Wycombe Sound.
Final part of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. I must say a very big hello and good evening to Phil Ball, who's got in touch and saying he's very much enjoying our programmes.
Hello!
needs more rehearsal, that bit.
Yeah, sorry, I'm really not trying to turn it into fantasy football league, despite what you've said. Quite impressed as well that you've played 2 trails in this show. Sorry, this won't mean to anything to anyone who's listening on the podcast. And you've been in both of them.
Quite by accident, must be said.
I'm quite impressed with your self-promotion.
Yeah, that's me.
Yes. And you're going to feature again now, because earlier on today...
it's all about me.
You had a chat to Ian Wills from the band Wills and the Willing, which is a good name. And anyway, he is the gentleman who has collaborated with not only Gareth Ainsworth, but also Peter Cech as well, on a new Christmas song called Drawing Straws. And he explained how the collaboration had come about.
Somebody said to me, my new album is out, London Country. And they said to me, Ian, why don't you write something about this year we had? And I thought, well, you're probably right. So I sat down and I wrote the lyrics. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this. And as I say, sort of from conception to lyrics to having the song mastered in total was 12 days. Rebecca had worked with me on London Country. And Gareth I've known for a long period of time, and we've tried to connect musically. Obviously he's done with what he's done with The Wanderer, and I first saw Gareth do a gig in 2004 at the Red Lion in Brentford. I did a couple of festivals, and he came to see me at one of them in 2008, and we talked about then, sort of trying to do something. But this just seemed to fall into place at the right time. And Gareth, he's such a good guy. He just was. There was no humming and ahhing. He was like, "Yep, let's do it. Let's make it happen."
Because you associate him with, as you say, the Wanderer or more of rock kind of stuff, but it works really well, this style of song as well.
When you can sing, right? So I think that is a big plus. And the lyrics of the song have depth to them, so it makes it more easy for people to want to be involved.
And as you say, it must be so pleasing to hear it on the radio and also to get reaction. You must have had such good feedback about it as well.
Colin, what people don't fully appreciate is that every time a DJ, whether it's on a national station, local station, hospital radio station, every time they play your song, what you've given us is a gift. You've given us something that justifies what it is that we put in. And it's not a given. Every time you get a song played, a track played on radio, it truly is a gift given to you by somebody else. And it is so rewarding.
Especially from that initial process as well. As you say, the whole thing only took less than a fortnight.
And, I think that the great thing is that when you have a momentum, football is very much about belief, isn't it? It doesn't matter how difficult your opponents are, if you believe you've got a chance, then that belief is quite often what carries you through the 90 minutes, even if you play really bad. And believing in this song led me to want to drive it to the point that everybody around me was so relieved when I said, it's now mastered. They can get their lives back.
And there's something really timely about speaking to you the night after, fans are returning to football as well.
Yes, and what we'd be hoping to be able to do, if it's at all possible, is to perform the song at the ground. And I know Gareth would be up for that, and we're trying to see if we can do it. I think before the or during or somehow at the QPR game, because obviously they've got a lot of respect for Gareth as well. It's his time there, so it'd be brilliant if we can.
So what do you hope people take from the song? Obviously enjoyment, but it's a really nice message as well, especially at this time of year.
Yeah, it is. And I think, what we have here for all the Wycombe fans, you have an opportunity, because I liken this to Wycombe v Port Vale, because Robbie Williams has chucked out his Christmas single, and we've put ours, so we should have we should have some heads of steam here and try and actually get a good song in the charts this year. Because it is a good song. Absolutely,
yeah. It'd be fantastic to have a proper Christmas number one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so you had Oasis Blur, now you've got you've got Wilson William v Robbie Williams.
Hope it doesn't get too ugly.
Well, we try, but I think Gareth can still carry his weight in the boxing ring.
No, absolutely. I don't know what Robbie's arrangements are currently at the moment, but that could be something to set up as well.
We can sort that out.
So how can people find out more about the song, and also obviously to more on what you're doing as well?
Yeah, so it's released next Friday, December the 11th, and it will be on all digital platforms. And obviously, you can want to find out what we're about as a band. The website is www.willsandthewilling.com. And, the objective of this song is to actually, we intend to donate all proceeds to particular dementia in sport. And so that's why it's a worthy cause. Nobody's making any money, and we're absolutely trying our best to do something positive.
It's a really great song. Congratulations on it, and look forward to it coming out next week. And thank you so much for your time. Brilliant to chat to you.
For giving me the time.
Fantastic to speak to Ian a little earlier on mid-mornings, and we heard a clip of the song there as well.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Slightly by accident, but there you go. It was nice. It was good.
Absolutely. It's all live here,
Yeah, and it's going around in my head now as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is good. But
is that the same song you were doing?
I'm not quite sure, actually. But so it doesn't come out until
next Friday, the 11th.
Okay. Yes, do look out for it, and try that. Let's try and get it as high up the charts as we possibly can.
Drawing Straws,
indeed,
featuring Gareth Ainsworth and Petr Cech. That's something you didn't think you'd say very often.
Not Wayne Rooney.
No. Oh, that leads us nicely though into.
It does rather, doesn't it? into
Wayne
last
Rooney's
Saturday. Derby.
How was your trip to Derbyshire?
It was very good. Nice ground, Pride Park.
Yeah.
As we say about so many of them in the Championship, apart from maybe Luton. It's definitely a ground that really should be hosting Premier League football. But I thought that we competed very well. As Gareth has said, definitely I don't think Derby will be down at the bottom of the table probably come the end of the season, although I'm not necessarily sure that actually Wayne Rooney is the right man, even though Gareth does seem to think that, that he'll probably sort them out. But I don't know. It's one of those where you sort of think the situation that they're in, and the fact that they've sort of said, we're going to have 4 coaches in charge, and then it's sort of now become, Wayne Rooney's going to be sort of like the head coach, and they brought in Steve McLaren. It's a bit messy, and they're waiting for this takeover. I think if the takeover happens, then I think maybe the people taking over will just actually think, let's have a new broom come in. But anyway, going back to us, it was a decent game, definitely a decent point, and I very much, yes, it was Matt Bloomfield's goal. Even though when I spoke to him afterwards, Ryan Alsop was heckling him, saying it was definitely not his goal.
Something really nice about coming from behind as well and getting a point. Still.
Yeah. Again, really, really impressive. We didn't quite manage to do what we did to Birmingham, but we didn't. We weren't far away. We were definitely in those final moments. We did have a few chances.
Fantastic, and great to see individual players doing so well as well.
Yeah, I mean, right through the team, and again, I think we said this last week, but actually, and I'm not being rude about the lone players, but actually, if you ignore the lone players and you look at some of the players that have been at Wycombe a long time,
don't ignore the lone players.
It's amazing.
Of course,
Anthony Stewart, was there on the pitch at Torquay, and is stepping up, and is performing in the Championship. Scotty Cashket, going through the experience that he went through at Leyton Orient, and just looks like a Championship player. He is a Championship player, but he looks like he belongs in this division. And then somebody like Matt Bloomfield, and on Saturday at Derby, Blooms and Bayo came on, 75 years worth of experience, and changed the game for Wycombe. It was vital that they came on, and when they did, yes, suddenly actually we looked so much better, because the first half we definitely needs to find an alternative to Bayo, because I think one of the things, and I think Gareth would even agree with this, that actually we do maybe rely on him a little bit too much to sometimes get us out of trouble. I think we probably saw it last night as well against Stoke. We need to find a way to be able to play without him, but once him and Blooms came on Saturday against Derby, we were a different side.
For the benefit of the tape, I was nodding.
Yes, you were.
We'll hear from the Wycombe captain in a few moments' time, but first, manager Gareth Ainsworth speaking to Bob after the game.
Gareth, another great point.
Fantastic point. This is an unbelievable football club, So, with Wayne Rooney taking over as the actual one in charge, they've had that bounce of him, a fantastic player, and I'm sure he'll be a good manager. So I think that's a magnificent point away from home. Although we could have made it 3, Gareth McCleary's shot is so close. But Ryan Alsop's had to make a couple of crucial saves as well. So I'm not blue tinted glasses today. I am realistic, and a point's probably a fair result.
What about Curtis Thompson? Because obviously he went off injured in the first half. How's he doing?
Yeah, it was in a big miss for us, Gapey, losing Gapey at the weekend's huge, and then losing Curtis as well, and Dennis, I think. But at one stage we had Alex Patterson, Dennis and Anis Mehmeti in midfield. It's a very young midfield. I mean, it's testament to where we've come as a club, to be able to put those young lads out in there and ask them to do a job in the Championship. But I thought second half we needed some experience, so Bayo and Blooms coming on was crucial for me. Fred's made another great impact, and felt for Scotty and Anis a little bit. They were more victims of the team performance rather than individual performances, and I'm sure we'll pick them up again. But it's a fantastic point, and unbeaten in quite a few games now, and I think we've only lost 1 in 7, which is a magnificent record to have in the Championship. No one would ever have thought that stat would come true, but I'm really pleased, and hopefully we can start turning some of these draws into wins.
And fantastic as well that you can bring on 75 years worth of experience, I think, in Blooms and Bayo.
It needed it at half time. I spoke to them both and said, look, are we good for 45, you two? And both of them said we are good for more than 45, Gaffer. And like I said, I think we also the impact of Akin Fenwer. I think he's disappointed he didn't score himself, but it's a great point in what is a tough game.
Has Wayne Rooney been coming to you for any advice, any tips?
Absolutely not. No, he's got a wealth of experience and played for probably the greatest manager that there ever was, and I'm sure he's got a lot of his own ideas what he wants to do. We have to fight and scrap. He's got he's got some big names on at his disposal, you know, some real quality players. I have to give him massive respect for changing the team up today and putting some players in that hadn't played for a long time, and they've delivered for him. I think it's a good stepping stone, and like I say, I'm about to put myself in any comparison with Wayne Rooney. All I can say is that it's enjoy it, and you know, there's always another game.
Must be really interesting, actually, for Gareth to be, well, not compared, but going up against someone of Wayne Rooney's calibre as a player, but quite untested in the dugout.
Yes, completely. And I think probably you think that, even though you probably don't say it. I don't think you're thinking, oh, wow, you know, it's Wayne Rooney, he's got all of this playing experience. I think you maybe think, oh, you know, managerially wise, you know, he's probably not, you know, he's still finding his way, shall we say. Now, you know, completely appreciate the fact that he's obviously, you know, been managed by some of the finest managers, and clearly you're going to pick something up. But at the same time, yeah, if I was Gareth, I would be thinking, and as I said earlier as well, you know, a very messy and strange situation at Derby where they, you know, said, right, okay, we're going to have 4 players in charge, or you know, 4 people in charge in the interim after Cocu got sacked. Then saying, oh, we're going to bring in Steve McLaren as well. You know, it's not somewhat, you know, you want clarity, I think, as a player and as a manager as well, and clearly they haven't got it at the moment.
It's a very accurate assessment, I think. Bob spoke to Matt Bloomfield after the game as well.
So first of all, how are you? Because obviously you had quite a lot of treatment at the end.
Yeah, I'm fine. There's a bit of blood banged to the head, but I feel absolutely fine. There's no concussion or anything, so all is good. There's just a bit of blood, that's all.
And there was a desperate scramble to get you on at the end, which didn't actually happen, and the referee wasn't letting you on, which was so frustrating.
No, it was frustrating. I think that's probably partly my fault. I needed to be assessed by the 4th official before I was allowed to be back on, but in my enthusiasm and eagerness to get back on the pitch, I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. So luckily, I was just worried about us conceding with 10 men, so I wanted to get back on, but luckily that didn't happen, and obviously the ref blew for full time, so we took a point, but I'm slightly disappointed. I thought we could have got all 3. You know, we had some good chances. I know we cleared one off the line from their corner, but the big man took one on his chest and just went wide, and then Gareth McCleary's strike was unreal. Like, what a strike that was. So good save from their goalie. So it's just, you know, it would have been nice to come on and take all 3 points, but we'll take a point coming back from 1-0 down at half time. And
what about you? Was it your goal? Because I understand there was a little bit of controversy about that.
The evidence looks like it was my goal. Fred done great at the back stick, come back across, and I just wanted to make sure it went over the line. It's not about, you know, whether it's my goal or not, and I'm just really proud to get back on the pitch for Wycombe Wanderers, and, you know, I love playing my football here, so it's just nice it's a nice moment to come on and get a goal and us to get a point.
Great to hear from Matt Bloomfield as well, obviously claiming the goal as he should.
Yes, 1 point to make with regards to, first of all, obviously he was fine with regards to his injury. I did speak to Curtis Thompson last night in the car park.
In the car park?
No, yet again. The people that I've spoken to in the car park, so Pete Couhig and now Curtis Thompson. And anyway, he did say that he probably won't be making the trip on Saturday to Preston because he has tweaked his hamstring, but he does hope to be back very, very soon. And, you know, you just begin to think, actually, it is getting a little bit concerning, the amount of injuries. So the fact that obviously Curtis, Dominic Gape, you know, it's beginning to slightly mount up in the midfield. Jason McCarthy obviously also going off last night with a shoulder injury, making his 100th appearance as well, in a light and dark blue shirt. Not quite the way that he would have wanted that to have ended. But interesting as well that last night, yes, we did have to bring 2 players back who have been on loan, just to make sure that we could fill the bench. So clearly we're slightly stretched at the minute, and we could definitely do with some, you know. So I think maybe referees protecting our players a little bit more, because definitely with regards to Jason McCarthy, there was something that was going on, and during the corner, some sort of tussle that did result in him, I think, probably putting his shoulder out. So all the very best to him, and to Curtis, and to Dominic Gape as well. We want to see them back as soon as possible.
How do you think Preston will go?
Interesting question, because they are incredibly inconsistent at the moment. So they seem to have a very good win and then they lose. Recent results, they beat Reading 3-0. Then lost to Rotherham 2-1, beat Sheffield Wednesday 1-0, then went down to Blackburn 3-0, lost to Watford 4-1, but then beat AFC Bournemouth away on Tuesday night 3-2. So you can't really tell what you're going to get with them.
Will he need to concentrate when going to Preston?
Probably not, no, because it's it's a nice and easy up the M40, up the M6. You don't really have to think about it.
Whereas Norwich, you really do.
Whereas Norwich, you do have to think about it. Yes, I'm glad I'm not doing Norwich again this weekend.
You've got a northern road trip coming up, haven't you?
Indeed,
really?
yes. So it's now Preston on Saturday and then Barnsley on Tuesday night. Which again, that's that's a bit of a long trek.
But you'll get a warm welcome.
I would imagine that probably we will. Yes.
Hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for listening. Check out the podcast as well, and join us next week at the same time for the Wycombe Wanderers Show here at Wycombe Sound.